Hello and welcome to the latest of our Cornerstone bite-sized videos. I'm Chris.
And I'm Nathan.
And today, we're going to talk a little bit about self-soothing versus self-care. And
Yes.
At this Christmas time, certainly in light of all the various restrictions, and it feels like we've started every single video this year with certainly in light of the various restrictions on offer, it might be good to just kind of explore from a personal perspective for each of us what the difference might be between self-care and self-soothing. So I have taken the liberty, Mr. Fox, of jumping onto Wikipedia, and then I didn't find the answer there, so I went to another website and found a literal definition, which I think kind of sums up the difference between self-care and self-soothing. So it says this: self-soothing is helpful when we need to move past something distressing in the moment. Yeah, that's self-soothing. And self-care, and I think this is quite interesting, involves changing habits which may not feel comfortable in the moment. However, the discomfort is followed by long-term benefits in areas of our personal and professional lives. So there we go. That ends the video for today.
Cool, perfect, done.
But that kind of sums up, really, doesn't it? The sense between self-care and self-soothing. The instantaneous element of I need reassurance, I need to feel okay in this moment, being soothing. And then self-care being the longer term approach.
Yeah, it's because it's interesting. I think sometimes with especially the whole self-care thing has been quite commercialized, and I've noticed that soothing has been dressed up as self-care
100%, yeah,
quite a lot. And so it's like, I'll take care of yourself, have a bubble bath. It's like, cool, yeah, that's quite a soothing thing to do. Doesn't really address the issue. So kind of, is there a benefit then to? Okay, good question. This is a question. Should we only ever do self-care and never self-soothe then?
No, I don't believe so. I believe there's a role for both, but we need to kind of. Well, I believe it helps to understand the difference between the two. Am I doing this for self-care or am I doing this for soothing purposes? Now, as therapists, we know we can sit in the room opposite somebody, and when we're talking about some stuff with them that's kind of a little bit maybe triggering or emotionally responsive for them, we will notice signs of people soothing themselves. So, for example, viewer at home, you might find that if you're a person who kind of does this sort of thing, when you're talking about something that's a little bit emotionally hard for you, you are soothing yourself. In that moment, you are reassuring yourself and helping yourself feel okay. Playing with hair, those sorts of things, they can all be elements of soothing. We soothe when we feel not okay. I believe that's what the difference is. We soothe when we feel not okay. Self-care is about, as the definition said, what can I do to bring about change, which will involve something uncomfortable or discomfort rather, in the first place, to get to a place where I have cared for myself in relation to something. Now, we've all been soothed when we were younger. One of the questions I often ask clients is along the lines of, when you were a baby, did your parents let you cry, or did they come to you and give you a hug? Because in those moments, as a baby, that's not self-care, that's being soothed by somebody else. If you learned your own coping strategies, to an extent, that's kind of self-care, because you learn to reassure yourself that things will be okay going forward. But it's also mixed up with soothing a little bit. But I think at Christmas time, we kind of need to be careful, like you said, mate, about the difference, understanding the difference, because advertising and stuff we're seeing all around, Tesco adverts are a really big one of this. There's no naughty list this year. Go on, you deserve it. Yeah, that it's not self-care, it's soothing. It's making you feel all right in the moment. It doesn't necessarily change anything. Have 3 mince pies and you might feel better for 30 seconds, but the overdraft's still there, or whatever it might be. Yeah, so go on, sorry.
That's right, that's fine. I think it's that thing of kind of like self-soothing is important because it helps us to cope with situations in that moment, like you said, but nothing changes. Like you say, if I go and have a bath and I feel better for a bit, I get out of the bath, I still have like crazy amounts of debt, or I still have that issue, or whatever it may be. It always feels like self-care involves some kind of change,
Yes.
something changing. So self-care is going to therapy. That's a form of self-care. Exercise is a form of self-care. Doing something, so it's like saying yes or no when I really want to, when I really need to,
Yes.
and that's the difference. So if
And it's
I'm
about
always saying,
intent as well, isn't it? Sorry to butt in, but you said about change, and that's absolutely right. It is about change, but soothing feels kind of passive, whereas change feels active. There's a definite intent around it.
Yes, absolutely. And soothing is often easy. It's often really easy to do, because and soothing is often, I feel, going back to the parent adult child, soothing often falls into the child kind of thing. It's my nurturing parent looking after my child in that moment, and soothing going there, and it's one of the first things we ever learn and we ever experience as human beings, is being soothed and everything being made okay. And so I think it can form a really important part of our self-care structure, but it's one aspect. And so if the only thing I ever do is soothe myself, all I'm doing is reinforcing that this pattern that I'm in. Whereas when I take self-care, I'm changing that pattern, I'm taking control. I can still soothe, but I'm going to need to soothe less because I'm changing, I'm becoming bigger, I'm becoming more
exactly
in the world.
I suppose if we want to think in terms of analogies, which I know you didn't mention at all, but I'm just going to run with it. It's a bit like self-soothing is like the slip road to the motorway of self-care. If we can soothe ourselves to a place where we reassure ourselves that things are on a level okay, we provide a better platform to do the self-care. So, for example, I'm looking at my computer and I've got mountains of debt and I just can't deal with it. But maybe if I were to go and have a bath, or whatever the soothe is, I can then come back to the place. So my nurturing parent takes care of my child and reassures it enough so that my adult comes into play and goes, right, now how do we crack on with this?
And I know we were going to keep this snappy, and we've probably already gone over the snappy limit, but I'm just thinking about how soothing can also become a kind of a crutch, or a thing that it becomes a problem, it becomes an issue that I get stuck in. I'm going back to eating and stuff, because like for me, it's all about food. When I soothe myself, I eat, and I know that, and I'm very aware of that. And leave me with a block of cheese even, and it will be gone if I'm in a low mood. I'm just going to eat the whole thing. I know that. So in that moment, I feel great because I'm eating loads of cheese. Brilliant. But the moment I finish eating that cheese, I feel just as rubbish as I did before. In fact, a little bit worse, because now my brain's going, oh, you shouldn't have eaten that. So soothing you can get this feedback loop of stuff that happens that means I need to soothe more. So I get this kind of continual catch-22 situation. Whereas with self-care, in that moment, potentially what I do is to be like, no, I'm not going to eat the cheese, because that's self-care, and that trumps the soothing in that moment, because long term I'll feel better.
Self-soothing is very kind of cathartic, isn't it? And that's like, great, I'm having my cheese, all's right with the world. Actually, it's not. It's not that little meme, isn't it, of the dog in the house on fire saying everything's fine. It's just the only difference being you've got a block of cheese on the table, perhaps, and the fire's still raging around you. But the self-care is catalytic. So you've got soothing is cathartic, makes us feel instantaneously different. Self-care is catalytic, so it invokes change and brings that change around through that sort of intent. So I guess what are we saying? What's the purpose of this video? Well, we've been
that's a good question.
I don't know. We've been fed through the year that we kind of, things are hard, things are tough. It's important to take care of yourself, but perhaps the messages that we've been receiving as a consequence of that have been more aligned to soothing, make yourself or encourage yourself to feel better in the moment rather than bring about lasting change. And, the way things are going at the moment, with not being able to see people to the same extent, it's colder, the evenings are drawing darker, our mental health is going to, if it's not already, going to begin to be impacted. You won't necessarily suffer, but mental health will certainly be impacted by stuff that's going on. So it's really important, actually, that we analyze what self-care looks like for us as individuals. And it's not that bar of chocolate, and it's not that glass of wine. They may make us feel better in the moment, but maybe we need to kind of look that little bit deeper and assess what self-care might look like. And that's where therapy comes in.
And just to throw a spanner in the works as well, I can't always self-care. There are situations where self-care just is not an option, and so
it's
that's
invisible to us.
Yeah, and that's kind of, sometimes that's when soothing takes the lead, because actually that's all I can manage right now. So I can't self-care because I can't take action because I'm stuck in a situation. So I need to soothe, and soothing can lead into therapy, which is self-care and all this sort of stuff. So it's I think the most important thing with self-care is again that attitude of compassion for yourself. Like if we can start with that, then that can lead us to most amazing places. But it's really hard to do because this thing wants to beat you up all the time. Not my brain. Our own brains. Our own brains are quite self-critical, and that's part of that self-care, is learning to be less critical of ourselves. But that's a journey.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop talking, because otherwise we'll end up doing another 20 minutes. And
I think that's fair enough. So hopefully we've kind of explained enough about the difference between soothing and self-care. But if not, and you want further clarification on stuff, then by all means, drop us a message, stick a comment in the comment section of whatever platform you're watching this on, and we'll look to respond there. But I guess all that's left for us to say is, if you'd like to get in contact with us to discuss your own therapeutic needs, then you can contact us via our website, cornerstonesw.co.uk. You can email us at contact@cornerstonesw.co.uk. And I guess we wish you a peaceful Christmas time. Take care of yourself.
Yes.
Little bit of soothing's okay, but notice the difference. That's all fine. I wish you a peaceful Christmas time and a happy New Year.
Happy New Year.